Well, it's the appointed hour, and Carol, it appears we have a quorum. Do you agree? Thank you. Well, let's call the meeting to order of the MAP 3 Citizens Advisory Board for April 25th, 2019, and begin with a welcome to our newest member. Councilman Mark Stonecipher was appointed by the mayor to be with us for this year, and David has made a valiant effort to make sure we will have one of our shorter and easier agendas as we ease him into this before the difficult meetings of the future come up. Councilman, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it. There's one thing I wanted to say to the committee. I usually always agree with what Will Rogers says, and I usually enjoy it, but there's one quote of his that I strongly disagree with, and it says, outside of traffic, there is nothing that has held this country back as much as committees. Unfortunately, Will Rogers did not get to see this committee. The committee has done outstanding work. I think history will note that outstanding work. And I compliment you for your great work, and I'm just proud to be a part of this, and I hope I can help in any way.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate your willingness to serve with us this year. And I will just note for your benefit that we are now, let's see, May, it will be 9 years for us, I think. We started in May, or was it May of 2010, David? Yes. And we have met each month since then, and we have never failed to have a quorum for this meeting. And and so we value your attendance.
I will be here.
Because that's important to us. All right, then. You've been furnished with copies of the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there additions or corrections? Shall we approve them? It's been moved that we approve them and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Item 3 is our revenue and expenditure report. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have in your packet the MAPS 3 revenue expenditure report for the period ending March 31st, 2019. On the revenue side for the month, we have $678,119. Fiscal year, $5,364,342, and total program revenue, $829,201,295. On the expenditure side for the month, $13,481,374. Fiscal year of $105,356,024, and total expenditures as of March 31st of $540,010,942. You also have your budget and obligations report in the packet, and I'll try to answer any questions that you might have.
Mark, our habit is that all of us are very interested in this, and we all look at it carefully, but Michael Adams is our financial guru, and so I always start by asking him, Michael, do you have any questions?
I do not. I will note that we continue to earn interest, $600,000 a month. Money's here, and so that's money that keeps coming into the program. So,
fantastic. Any other questions for David about that? Shall we receive it? Been moved and seconded that we receive the report as provided. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is received. Item 4, we have a resolution for considering a change order. David?
Yes, sir. Item 4 is recommend resolution approving change order number 11. MAPS 3 Convention Center increase to $65,935, project M3-C003. As you know, the Convention Center is well under construction, happy with the way that's going, and we find various things within the project. You'll see that there's several really small items here, but of most significance is some additional wall framing that was seen in the project, and then some electrical power that needed to be run to the door hardware that was inadvertently left out of the plans. There was not a quorum this month. Is that correct? I can't.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There wasn't a quorum, but those present recommended that we send this on to the advisory board.
One of our members had to be away making a hole-in-one in Florida, and so we didn't have a quorum. But congratulations, Sue, for the hole-in-one. All right. We did have several members of the subcommittee there, and we did look at this, and a couple of noteworthy things about it, I'll say particularly for the councilman's benefit. We see change orders every month, and for the most part, they do not reflect an increase of the budget. These are change orders and spending more money, but they're still within the budget, otherwise it would be noted. So this is not an item to spend more money. Okay. And this represents less than 0.5% of the budget the change orders have to this point. So these, for a project of this magnitude, these are relatively small change orders, but still well within the budget, and we did recommend it. Shall we approve it? Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. We approve the change orders as outlined by David. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. Item 5, David.
Item 5 is recommend resolution approving preliminary report MAPS 3 Bennett Event Center Improvements Project M3-F002G. If you'll recall, there were some additional things at the Bennett Center that needed to be improved because of things we took out of the original contractor's scope, and we received funds for that. Then there's also some additional things that, as they started to use the building, realized that they needed. Again, this is still within the original Fairgrounds budget. It's coming out of their contingency and their construction budget lines. So today we have John Sempner here from FSB. He's going to give you a quick presentation on what's included in this preliminary report.
Welcome, John.
Thank you. We were asked to kind of walk the building holistically, look at what issues we had both in our punch list from the original contractor and both new items that the State Fair, just after use and wear on the building a little bit over the last 2 years, identified as needs. To start off, we wanted to remind everybody that where we are in the process of accepting the construction from the original contractor, we have accepted everything except for 3 items: building roof, high bay, walls, and the insulation related thereto. As you look at the kind of the numbers of the original bid, the change orders, and then change order number 27 we highlighted, which was the money we received back for the incomplete punch list items. So we're still under our original budget, and we do everything we're going to talk about today should fall under that budgeted amount. So I'll try to get through many of these items quickly. There are a lot of really detailed items. Item number 1, when you're in the main expo hall, a lot of the doors around that main expo hall are for emergency egress, so they're really used infrequently by the public, more for load in, load out, and then in an emergency situation they allow us to evac. Those doors really, a lot of them show some daylight down the center of them, and so we tried to work with the existing contractor to fix that several times. We really felt we've been unsuccessful, so we're going to go back with a new contractor and a kind of a different astragal solution to solve that issue. Work item number 2, we surveyed all of the exterior doors. We found several of them were either torqued in their frame, the threshold didn't meet the door as well as we would like to see it, or the frame backing had started to pull away. Trying to kind of separate the 2 types of doors we see in the main public spaces. Once again, we have the hollow metal doors, kind of I referenced earlier, and then we have the aluminum storefront doors. The aluminum storefront doors are the main public doors. A lot of those have seen really heavy traffic and really heavy use, probably higher than what we thought, especially in the northwest corner. And so we've started to see damage and them pulling away, really because of how heavy of a door they are. We've pulled in the manufacturer to come in, take a look at them, and just through a bunch of reviews and meetings and push back and forth, we're recommending to go ahead and go from the door frame that's there currently and a 3-butt hinge to a continuous hinge. Is very much more robust and really sets up that door for success for 50 years, not for 5 or 10. So we're recommending to go do that. because of kind of those two recommendations, basically all of those doors will be replaced. It's more financially beneficial to do it that way. So that's probably the largest ticket item we'll talk about today. The second one, as we've talked about some hardware changes on those egress doors, we'll also talk about some just on interior doors. As we've gone, we've highlighted some doors that either public can access a location they shouldn't, or vice versa. And so we're going through and correcting some just door hardware effects. Item number 4, in a couple rooms, we want to relocate some motion sensor lights. It's basically you walk into a room and the motion sensor is way on the other side of the room because there's another door on the other end. And so we're just relocating and changing some switching out. Work on item 5, the way in which the contractor installed the roof hatches allow access up to all the 5 areas of the roof you can access, but a couple of those we've deemed a little bit more dangerous than we really want them to be. So we're going to go ahead and add some more handholds and some steps and things adjacent to them for some safety reasons. Work item number 6. In the main lobby vestibule, we have 2 really tight sets of doors on either side. When one closes, there's just too much pressure for the ceiling grid that we chose. So we've had some ceiling tiles pop out, so we're going to remove one, put a return grill in there so it allows air in and out of there, and it'll solve that problem. There's also work item 7, which is a large door into that vestibule. Basically, we've had some problems with locking and unlocking of that door, so we want to change on how we lock that. Work item 8, there is one of the main 2 power feeds over to the building come off some medium voltage lines adjacent. The current installation is code compliant, so we accepted it, but it really doesn't achieve the good engineering practice that we would like to see there, and consistent with the rest of the campus, that we're recommending some additional changes there. Work item 9, there's a back-of-house man door that's seen a little weather intrusion, so we'd like to add a canopy over that, so anybody approaching it will have some cover, and then it'll also cover it from any northern rain we get. Work item 10, we have a couple faucets that we have permanently installed hoses and soap dispensers hooked up to, and so we leave them the cold and the hot on, and we're seeing water circulate from the cold to the hot, and so we want to go ahead and redo that fixture so that doesn't occur anymore. Work item 11, we had 2 different contracts dealing with the access control system and due to timing and incompleteness of work. We really have a lot of work to do to really finish the access control for all of the doors. That, too, is another, probably the second largest item on here. Work item 12, a couple doors, just as when you're accessing an IT closet, you're blocking an adjacent door, and so we kind of want to change some of those. Work item 13, the main lighting for the building. We've seen an abnormal number of failures. Currently, they're under warranty, so there's been no cost to us. But we'd like to go ahead and try some fixes to go ahead and see if we can't taper that off. We've done a lot of testing. We think we've identified it, but that's probably the one I'm still tracking down issues on. Work item 14, as we installed the freezer, that was under the food consultant's contractor, and the general consultant was in charge of the lighting. Well, when they installed the lighting, nobody sealed between the 2, and so we've had all the light fixtures condense and then burn out. So we'd like to go ahead and have them replaced and sealed appropriately. Work item 15, as part of kind of the early budget cuts and VE to the project, we removed a lot of signage, and so we'd like to go ahead and add some display signage adjacent to the ticket windows, just small display signage there. Work item 16, these are 2 alternates to the project. Just if we have some available funds, we'd like to do this. In the main lobby, we have several columns. We really would like a stone texture, something a little hardier on them. As part of an early VE process, we removed that and put a metal cladding on there. We think the stone would look more appropriate, and we're also seeing some early signs of wear just on the metal panel. It's acceptable, but we'd really like to go back to that nicer material. So that is one item that's, if we have the funds, we'd like to move forward with that. Work item 17, once again, some reversing of door swings. Work item 18 are two punch list items that were identified. One that the fire extinguisher cabinet needs a skirt so that somebody with a cane can find the bottom of it. The second one is in the main fire room itself. We don't feel that the ceiling has met the 1 hour enclosure requirements that we'd like to see in that room. So we're going to do some additional work there. Work item 19, it's really a maintenance issue. These shows come in and out really fast, and to get and replace all the bottles of soap and refill them requires somebody to crawl under the sink on their hands and knees. So we're going to do a larger, more robust system that's an enclosed system so we can change out the soap faster. Work item 20, just as we've gone through some of the issues with the roof and some other aspects of the building, we've gone through some of our attic stock, so we'd like to replenish some of that. Work item 21, really as we've identified and really honed into the lighting issue, we recognize that the contractor's bonding and grounding of the original system wasn't per our design drawings. Once again, it's code compliant, but it's not of the engineering standard we'd like to see for that building. So we're recommending some additional work to really make it more robust and hopefully remove some of that electrical issues we're seeing in the building. Work item 22, we had a little condensation problem next to one of the units, and really it was because a valve wasn't insulated. We'd like to go back and insulate that valve and replace the ceiling tile associated with it. Work item 23, we played around with some of the hot water temperatures and lowered it from the design setting. In doing so, we have a sink that it takes forever to get hot water, so we'd like to add a recirculation pump so that there's hot water on demand. Work item 24, when I talked about the access to the roofs, there's a couple that are just 200 yards away from each other. So we have a lot of workmen that walk between the two, and we're seeing wear on the roof. We'd like to add some wear treads to that area. Work item 25, we've had some of those damaged ceiling tiles in that vestibule, as I referenced earlier. Work item 26, we have some penetrations that weren't sealed the way we would like to see them sealed. Work item 27, one of the condensers for a freezer is missing a panel on the outside. We'd just like to replace it. It really protects from hail. And kind of that summary. So as you go from 1 to 14, you'll see a budget of about 1.1, a little under 1.1 million. We have 4 alternates. Item 16 were the cladding in the main lobby. Item 3, alternate 3 is dogging down, which is essentially allowing you to manually lock the door. We've had enough issues with the access control. The access control system, you can hit it and the door will lock or unlock. Unfortunately, when the access control system goes down, because we had that system, we didn't provide a manual system. So we're going to look at whether or not we want to spend the money on that manual lockdown feature for the main sets of doors. And then we've also had some difficulty of hardware internal to the door. It's the vertical rod that locks the top and the bottom of a door. In some of the areas that aren't public, we feel it would wear better if they're exposed. It's better maintenance, a little easier. But that's going from something that's already installed, and we're having some trouble with it, to a different system. So there is some cost to that. So that's one we're also looking at. So that's the summary of our cost estimates. I'd take any questions on the period of that.
Well, I'd like for you to stay at the podium, but I want to ask David a question. This seems like an inordinate number of things to think about at one time here. Can you kind of summarize a couple of things for us, David, with John's help? One is, we've had a lot of trouble with the contractor, and I heard John say we're not getting the same one to fix all this. And I guess we've been told before that we put the contractor's bond on notice of some kind. And so first question is, are we going to get some reimbursement from the contractor? Second question is, you mentioned that you were calling on some of the manufacturers for failure of their effort. So kind of summarize for us, how much of this is enhancement, how much of it's the contractor's fault, how much of it's the manufacturer's fault? And then finally, and this is my last point, if we do get money back from the subcontractor and we do get money back from the manufacturer, does that go into the MAPS budget and or does that go into the city's general budget, or how does that work?
I can tell you that we did do a change order when we did the final acceptance. It was all negotiations with the contractor, and we valued the things that he had not completed with the punch list, and we received that money, and it is still within the Fairgrounds budget.
So we just didn't pay him then?
That's correct.
So we have the money?
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
John, do you need to expand on that any?
I would say the one thing I want to highlight, when we accept the building, we still have warranty periods after that date. We have some as long as 20 years, specifically that's to the roof. We have quite a few in the 5-year range, but the majority of items have a 2-year warranty. So right now, the contractor is still on the hook for everything for a period of 2 years from acceptance. So you can see the early date I referenced was October of 18, was our first acceptance on the majority of the building. Once we accept the roof, we will then still go into that period. He's still on the hook for that. His bonding agent's still on the hook for that. So we still have a lot of protections even walking through this. But I think as we as a team all looked together and said, okay, how do we get forward? We had contingency money. This bid that we originally received was well below the other bids. We're still below the other bids. So even to date, so we really feel that this is an appropriate change order.
And a lot of the items that we're doing, correct me if I'm wrong, are operator requests. Once they started working the building, they found, like you mentioned, light sensors and things like that, just small things that help with the operations and help the Fairgrounds operate the building better, make it more efficient. And like you also said, some of the things were value engineered out because at the time of bidding, we were concerned about budget, so we took some things out. Now that we're in good shape, we're adding those back in with this contract.
Great.
I guess to answer Tom's question, is there some more warranty money from manufacturers and so forth, potential to reimburse for some of this?
I wouldn't say money. We're still engaging the contractor. We're still engaging the subs. We're still engaging the manufacturers to anything we can deem deficient from the original contract. We're still holding them liable, and they have to maintain it and fix it. That's one of the great things about our warranty is they have to maintain it for those 2 years. So pretty much if a light goes out, we're calling them. And so we've had troubles with getting response and appropriate response times because this is a heavily used facility. You know, everybody is, you know, from the public side, they're not seeing this. From the maintenance side, that's really where we're seeing this.
Other questions? Okay, then. We have the, and you are recommending we approve this, David?
Yes, sir.
All right. If there are no further questions, shall we approve it?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the resolution as presented. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is approved. Next item, David. Thank you, John.
Item 6 is recommend resolution approving architectural services contract with Hornbeek Blatt Architects PC MAPS 3 Whitewater Facility, Riversport Rapids, and Oklahoma River Boathouse District Improvement, $630,000, project M3-R008. If you recall, council allocated additional funds for the Boathouse District. These are some items that we want to do, specifically the build-out of the second floor of the main building. Remember that we shelled that as we did the original construction. Now we can build that out to make a meeting space. There's also some other things that the Boathouse District would like to do, like shade structures, zip line, additional climbing features, water features, some additional river access that's nearer to River Sport Rapids, some additional paving and landscaping and those things, just all nice enhancements to help make that an even better place. So this is the architectural contract to get those things going so we can go out to bid. This was done in the usual procedure through Public Works with the selection of architects, and we recommend approval.
Questions?
I recommend approval. The subcommittee did not have a quorum, but those in attendance recommended that we bring this to you.
Great. Dee, that's your subcommittee.
It is.
You all feel good about this?
Yes, we do. We want to move on.
All right. Are there questions for David or Dee? Shall we approve it?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution for architectural services. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. That brings us to item 7, I think, doesn't it, David?
Yes, sir.
This is new business. Any item of new business to be brought forward by any member? All right. That brings us then to item 8, the subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee want to make a report or comment since, gosh, this is too easy. I do want to say that although I was a little under the weather and missed it, there was a tour of the convention center and a tour of the park, and we got rave reviews for the progress that was being made, and I think that's a really important thing that Dave and his staff do a really great job of, is making sure we get a chance to see this periodically, and so that all went well. Any other thing of note from the subcommittees? Okay, David, give us your update.
Well, you can see that the agenda was a little light today, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a lot going on. But we have completed a substantial amount of projects. And we talked briefly about the river. You know, we've completed the original projects, but now we're doing some additional ones, so we're getting started on that with today's approval, and then that will go to council. Senior Wellness 3 is beginning design. We're still having some public meetings, and some site selection continues, and hope that will wrap up in the very near future. Likewise with Wellness 4, beginning talks with the operator, and still discussing site selection on that. Trails and sidewalks. Sidewalks have almost wrapped up completely with what maps will do, but the Draper Trail is still under construction, and that's going well if it'll just quit raining. It's slowed construction down considerably. As you mentioned, we did have a tour for the convention center, but if you drive by there, you'll see that they are flat getting after it. They're hanging steel, and you can see that building really starting to take shape. So very excited with what's going on there. We talked briefly about Fairgrounds, so we'll be getting started on final plans for those items that John just talked about. The park, if you go by the park is actually starting to look like a park. Trees have all started to leave, and we've got over 400 trees in place right now, and we'll continue that into June. Some of the grass has been set. The lake is almost completely up to its level now. Just a lot of things going on down there, and we also planted the survivor tree seedling in the park. And then streetcar ongoing projects with the excess money that was allocated. We continue to purchase spare parts and do some of the little things that need to be done to wrap that up. But all in all, it's going well.
Any questions for David? I might add at the Convention Center Subcommittee meeting, we are going through a process somewhat like you heard today from about the fair. We're looking at a lot of enhancements. We're not having any trouble with the contractor, I don't mean that, but we are looking at a lot of ways we're below our budget, and so we continue to look at things that would enhance the operator's job. And so the operator and the architects and the contractor are working together, I think, really well with David and his staff, and they brought us some ideas that we didn't move forward this month, but you'll probably be hearing something like you heard today about the convention center, which will focus mainly on enhancements that will help the operation. And so I expect that we'll see that with some chairs and stuff. Don't you, David?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, with that, that concludes David's report. Are there any comments by any of the board members? Staff? Carol, you have anything you want to tell us? We're doing okay? Boy, that's a great report from the lawyer, you know? Yes, it is. This is also an opportunity for any citizens that are here that would like to be heard to do so. Any citizens? If not, that brings us to item 11. Councilman Stonecipher has moved that we adjourn. And Zane has seconded it. All in favor say aye. Always. We're adjourned. Thank you.